Greetings, welcome in Bettor's Last Stand, show number 91, Pine Room Studios, downtown Wheeling here on a hot day. Looks like some storms are rolling in here any minute. Let's hope it cools it down because it is not, it's not fun out there right now. It hasn't been very nice the last couple of days, but that's all right. We're on the air conditioning. We're watching soccer, European Championship semifinal right now. Netherlands and England, 1-1. Shouldn't be 1-1. England's gets every call in this match. They get his cheap ass penalty, and I know everybody will say the Dumfries studs were up. Well, if you're gonna use that logic, then it would have been a penalty no matter if he didn't block the ball or not. Studs up is a foul no matter what. So I have a hard time believing that that's getting called out in the regular part of the field if he blocks the ball cleanly, and he didn't do anything. Kane's follow through hit him. It's an awful call. And once again, the England gets a gift, and it's just very frustrating. You can write this script on this stuff. The referee involved has been banned for match fixing in the past, which I was going to talk about here on the show. But he says he's already made his presence known here. It's really disgusting the way the sports are right now. So many selfish people, so many greedy, money-hungry people out there. And they really, it's very, very rare when the best teams ever win these because it's always about the most popular team. So if you're the most popular team, most likely you'll do all right because you're going to get calls and you're going to get preferential treatment. And there's no doubt that that's occurring in this match. And as I said before the match, I have a lot of vested interest in the Dutch. And I have no confidence that they'll have even a fair shake of winning this in this match here today. So got about 30 minutes left, so if you hear me react, you'll know what happened. But I would imagine this will probably go to extra time, even go to penalties, and England will win because they usually always do until they absolutely have to on their home soil. They can't win, but we'll see. Maybe I'll get lucky in this cheating ref will even the score. But nonetheless, on we go here. It was a strong week for us here at Bettor's Last Stand. We gave out a big golf winner. Davis Thompson cashes 28-1. And remember, I said I didn't really like any of those guys last week. It was the John Deere Classic. Is a terrible field, but apparently I do better in the terrible fields than I do in the good ones because we had a really strong performance. Brendan Todd, Seamus Power, top 20s. Good performances out of those guys. Denny McCarthy, top 10. And then the young kid Clanton, he finished tied for second. So it was a really, really good all-around golf performance for us. We were up 54 units on the week, counting the golf. We did as good as we've done in a while. So we'll take it, and we'll move along to the next one. But as we always say in golf, you may not win for 5-6 weeks, but when you hit a big one, when you bust one up, then you make up for it. So that's the way it goes. Kind of goes up and down, little jagged downs and jagged ups. That's what we're hoping for. F1, we were 1-2. Max Verstappen couldn't quite track down Lewis Hamilton. We'll talk to Sam about that one later in the program. As usual, Indie Car was a horrendous performance. There's just so much volatility in Indie Car. It makes it for good racing, but it's hard to get a beat on these teams right now. So we weren't very good there. Had Will Power. I'll probably be back in Will Power again this week. 4-1 in the CFL. So we start off our CFL card with a nice 4-1 performance. The one that we did have was an under on Saturday night, and I want to say it was Calgary. And I was watching this game, and my Lord, their defense is so bad. It was just bad tackling, and I mean they just couldn't stop it. I mean, and we actually had a fighting shot at keeping the game under. Yeah, it was Calgary. They won 22-. Well, maybe it wasn't Saturday. No, I'm sorry. No, it was Saturday night. It was, Calgary. They got beat 30-26 by Montreal. We had a fighting shot late in, I mean, it was like midway through the fourth quarter, and we were like, wow, I mean, if we can get a stop here, then the other team's going to run the clock out, and we'll be good. No, it was a field goal, touchdown, and the team that was leading didn't even need a touchdown they scored. So it was weird sequence there, but man, Calgary will be a team that I might start fading towards overs, like playing the games over because they can't tackle. They were so bad, and I'm not saying like they just like the guy was running strong and they took a bad angle or they just missed it. Like these were like guys who looked like they had never tackled before, like they didn't know how to tackle. Like their heads were in weird spots. They were like backing out of the tackles. It was quite something. But yeah, CFL football though. Much, much better product than the NFL. I know I'll be one of the few people that ever say that, and people will call me stupid, but it's really not if you actually watch it. It's just better. It's better. The games are quicker. There's less penalties. It's just better. And there's no tackling in the NFL anyway. It's always a penalty or something. But obviously not as good at players. There's no disputing that. But the game itself, just much, much more enjoyable to watch. That is for sure. But I know nobody wants to hear that. That's okay. We'll move along. I'm in the minority on that one. But anyway, up 54 units. Good week in CFL 4-1. 5-5 again in AFL. I'm getting kind of sick of this. I'm treading water every single week. It's frustrating. Got to get out of this rut and rattle off a big, 8-1 or something like that, and 9-2, something. Give me something. NASCAR 1-4. We'll talk with Sam about that one. Another frustrating ending to NASCAR race for us, but Chicago proved to be exciting once more, so we're happy about that. Was 2-0 in the Big Three to start it off, and then lost the next four. So not so great on the Big Three. Big Three didn't have any numbers when I came on the show today, so if I have anything for those, I'll get to it later, but I'll say it'll be on BLS_PRP. You can always find all the plays there, and we'll have them up there as soon as I get some numbers and do a little digging into those ones. We cashed 2 more tickets in soccer, which the Netherlands just had a great chance. Or no, that was the Netherlands. Yeah, I don't know why the Netherlands had a guy on the line in England's goal, but Netherlands with a great chance there, and looks like Virgil put it wide, or maybe that was Nathan Ake. Oh, gosh. Nevertheless, soccer, we cashed 2 more tickets. We had Netherlands and Spain both to reach the semifinals right now. We got Spain in the final, so now we need the Dutch. If we can get the Dutch in there, we cash another big ticket there, so that'll be a good one. 5 tickets are still alive in soccer and tennis. Tennis, that'll come up in the bad beats section. Tennis has provided some really, really horrible beats here for us in the last couple of weeks at Wimbledon with these people retiring, and I'll talk more about it when we get to the bad beats part of the show. Sam was 2-2 in F1. He had a nice plus 550 with Alex Albon in the top 10. He finished 9th. Ty Gibbs 3rd in NASCAR, which was a good one as well. All right, so let's dive into where we made our money last week, and it was at the Genesis, or no, it wasn't at the Genesis. It was at the John Deere. It's this week. It'll be at the Genesis Open here in Scotland as they get ready for the Open Championship next week. So everybody who's anybody is over there playing that tournament right now in, tomorrow, North Berwick, Scotland, and it's the Renaissance Club, I believe. So a good event. It definitely is a primer for the British Open next week, or the Open Championship as it should be called. And then there's the ISCO Invitational in Kentucky this week. Is a garbage field. I kind of like the John Deere. I probably should have concentrated on that and not the Scottish Open. But there's an amateur that's favored in that one, so I'm staying away from that one. So we'll go with the Scottish Open, the Genesis Scottish Open here this week. Again, we hit Davis Thompson 28-1 last week. We'll try to duplicate that. So let's get into it here. Links golf, always popular for some guys. Some guys really, really suck at it, so you got to try to pick and choose. Rory McIlroy won this last year, but Robert McIntyre had this thing won. I think he was up like 4 shots with like 2 or 3 holes left, and he melted down like a biblical meltdown, and Rory was there. Rory didn't do anything to earn it. It just fell into his lap like a lot of things, but nevertheless, Rory a favorite here around 6-7-1. No Scotty Scheffler. I just can't bet Rory McIlroy at any price like that. It's just ludicrous to me. Xander Schauffele, second choice, around 8-1. I wouldn't play him either. I mean, I respect his game, but it's just too low of a price. So we're going to be looking at some guys like Colin Morikawa around 13-14-1. I think he could be decent here. Tommy Fleetwood has been in the top 6 here the last 2 years. Plays really well over there. Links golf, very good in the wind. So if the wind starts picking up, a lot of guys suck at that. Not Tommy Fleetwood. He's very good. His iron play will be great. Can he close out on a Sunday? That is the troublesome part. He rarely does. He's around 19-20-1. So Morikawa and Fleetwood, along with Ben On, around 50-1, I think, make a lot of sense. But my top choice here, we're going to go to Min Woo Lee. He's 28-1, 29-1 range, and that is probably where I'm going to take a shot with him. He get a good price on him. He's played well at tournaments like this in the past. He's shown that he can control his ball pretty well in the wind. The Australian which you wouldn't know by his name, but he is Australian. Play well in the wind too. So I like Minwoo Lee. I like Hideki Matsuyama at around 26-1, and I like Matthew Pavon, who's had a very strong season. He's around 99-1, 100-1. You could probably find him some spots. So those are kind of my top three guys. And then your guys are a little bit not as good priced. Fleetwood, Morikawa, I think major contenders, and then Ben on around 50-1. The Højgaard brothers. I don't even know if these guys are brothers. I don't know that they're Danish. Both of them pretty good. They've each had a top 10 here in the last 2 years. So if you want to take a shot, Rasmus and Nikolai are your guys. They're both around 85-100-1. You can find them at different books. And then one dark horse guy I think sets up pretty good for this guy. Brian Harman to me is sneaky at these kinds of tournaments. Obviously he played great in the Open. Was that last year that he won or 2 years? But he's left-handed. A lot of these courses can set up pretty well. The balls roll. You don't have to drive it a long way. And he's a really good putter. So I like Brian Harman as kind of a dark horse guy, a little bit under the radar. Ludwig Aberg is getting a ton of play right now. He's around 14-15-1. His price not quite where I want it to be at. So, I mean, while I think he could contend here, I don't love the price. And then Tom Hoagie, great iron player, should put himself in a position for a lot of birdies. He's around 73-1. One guy that was very polarizing that I read some stuff on is Victor Hovland. Some guys picking him to win, some guys picking him to miss the cut. So take your pick there. I didn't want to back Victor here. I didn't love his price, and I think that he probably will play all right, but you just don't know. You really can't ever gauge what these guys are going to be like. Like 1 week, I mean, he may just not care. He may be working on one part of his game this week, which is very common for these guys. They'll come into a tournament, similar conditions to what they'll be facing next week, and there'll be one part of their game that they'll be working on that they'll not even really care about where they're finishing at, as long as they tune up that part of their game for the bigger tournament next week. So you could see that. So going through these once more, top choice Minwoo Lee, followed by Hideki Matsuyama, Matthew Pavon, Tommy Fleetwood, Colin Morikawa, Ben on, so that is like a Byung Hunan, like Hunan beef, Hunan chicken, Byung Hunan, Brian Harman, the Højgaard brothers, Nikolai and Rasmus, and then let's see who I have on the backseat. Well, I have Ludwig Aberg, but I don't know about his price, and then Tom Hoagie 73-1 to round that out at the Scottish Open. We'll be at the British Open and the Open Championship next week, so should be a good one there. Lots of excitement always around that tournament, the weather, the conditions, and time of day I really enjoy. So, all right, so let's shift over to baseball here real quick and talk a little bit about that. We got the Pirates looking like you got conflicting articles here. You got Bob Nutting saying there's no money. You got other people saying that they're going to get this young player named Ward from the Angels. He's just the run-of-the-mill. I think he's supposedly a third baseman, or at least that's what I remember him as. They're saying he plays outfield now. So I thought maybe if they were getting a third baseman, they'd get rid of Key Brian Hayes. He's got a little pop against lefties, but from what I've read and what people have said, high strikeout probability. He doesn't hit well behind in the count. So he's like another version of Jack Sawinski probably. Just the wrong version, like the right-handed version of that. So I don't know. To me, the Pirates put this out solely to quell the problems that they had yesterday when John Perrotta reported that Bob Nutting said there's no money to spend. So even though he told the fans that there was. So I don't know. That's got to be a red card on England. That has to be a red card, and it won't be. Are you kidding me? This is far worse than anything Denzel Dumfries did. I mean, this was a clear takeout, and they get nothing out of it. Jeez. I'll tell you. Sports sometimes is really, really unfair. It's really tough. But it teaches good character, I guess, because that's just blatant. He freaking stomped his leg. Oh, my God. Could have broke the guy's leg right in half. Doesn't get dick for it. Boy, oh, boy. That's tough. But, like I say, builds character. Teaches you that life is not fair. Things are not fair. And the world is not fair. All right, so baseball. Back to that. Pirates look like they're going to be sellers, even though they're trying to get people off that scent that they're going to shut their pitchers down and things like that. It all indications point that they will not get anybody other than maybe just a token guy that will be of no value, just to show the fans that they're trying to do something when they're really not. Yankees have lost 16 of 21. They continue to slump. We told you that a long, long time ago on this show. I'd like to get somebody of our Pine Room crew to pull that footage of whatever show that was when I told everybody, calm down on the Yankees and they're not good and that you need to bet Baltimore or anybody else than them. And I I knew a fall was coming. I didn't expect it to be quite this bad, but right now the Yankees in serious trouble. Their clubhouse is losing it, but hey, don't worry. Hank Steinbrenner and Cashman are going on the road trip, so that'll rally them. Those guys, I don't know what kind of dirt Brian Cashman has on the Steinbrenner family, but my God, it must be significant because this guy should have been fired 10 years ago, and he just continues to get chances. He's the worst evaluator of talent I've ever seen. He's cheap. He buys terrible garbage players that are over the hill, and then he's got a bad man. I don't know. Brian Cashman's never been a good GM, and he just continues to get chances, and it is just mind-boggling to me how they continue to employ a guy like that. And this is the England guy's fake, and you didn't get hit in the head. It's an absolute lie. You just falsified an injury just so you could try to draw a foul, and you didn't even get it called, you liar. Boy, I tell you. Hey, watching this stuff is frustrating. Anyway, favorites on Tuesday, 10-3 in baseball, overs 10-2-1. So those could be some bad signs for the books. We actually didn't get beat up too badly. Unders on the season, 649, 642, and 654. So pretty even on the unders right now. They're starting to come back to earth. It's getting warmer, a little more humidity. Balls are carrying more. So you're starting to see the overs starting to come in. There should have been another card there, and then they're not gonna give anything to the Dutch. Top ROIs, Orioles continue to lead at nearly 21 units up. Cleveland at 1070. The Nationals pass the Yankees now at 891. A few weeks ago, the Yankees were tops in the big leagues. 763 for the Yankees and falling. San Diego now into fifth over Milwaukee at plus 446. So if you bet straight $100 bets or dollar bets, if you want to do it, that's how many units you would be up on the season. A couple bets. I said I wasn't going to do this until after the All-Star break, but I think you can get a little bit of value heading in right here as you start to see some of these teams who have already geared it down, and I think there's some teams looking to go on vacation for a few days, most notably the Yankees. 20-1 for them to miss the playoffs right now, I think, is a good value. This team is not very good. They have some young pitchers that they depended on who are now throwing more innings than they ever have before. And you never really heard that narrative. You heard it with the Pirates. They're going to shut guys down. They're going to control innings. But you didn't really hear it with the Yankees. Well, these guys have hit a wall. Luis Gil, he's hit a wall. Like there's an issue there. Their bullpen is starting to falter a little bit. I think the Yankees that missed the playoffs is very live. Watching the series over the weekend, the Red Sox, if the Red Sox could add maybe one more bat to their lineup, and then maybe one more starter, or if the Bayo kid can get himself back to where he was last year, Boston's better than New York. They're better. I mean, they're just a better team. New York has two players, Soto and Judge. And if those guys do not produce, the Yankees are just very bad. And they can't carry the load all the time. So I think Boston's live to pass them up. They're on their heels right now in the wild card race. Yankees 20-1 to miss the playoffs. I think that's mispriced. I think that should be more like 5-1. But jump on that now. If they keep losing out to the All-Star break, they might readjust. And this was the team a few weeks ago before I went on vacation. They were the favorite to win the World Series, or right there with the Dodgers. Just ridiculous. But hopefully you've been feigning them like I have, and we're ready for the fall. Red Sox to make the playoffs on the other side of that. Even money right now. Red Sox playing very good. You can tell they got a much better manager. The Red Sox took a lot of heat, and rightfully so. They didn't upgrade a whole lot of their roster, but they learned from a few years ago when they went in on some free agents who turned out to be complete wastes of money. So I think they were a little cautious, and right now they've developed the young players, and they're playing pretty good baseball, and they're starting to believe, and Alex Cora does a good job of managing the clubhouse. So Red Sox, if they can keep up their starting pitching holds up, they're going to be right there. So playoff contenders at even money. You have the Royals at plus 170 to make the playoffs. I think that's worth a look too. I still think they're not going anywhere. I think they're going to be aggressive here. I expect them to make a move here in the next couple of days. So possibly they beat everybody else to the punch there, because the Royals could use definitely a bat. Absolutely could use a bat and probably another arm if they can. Astros now all of a sudden up the minus 160 to make the playoffs. I think that's going to be a done deal. They're tops in the league in average, and they're starting to play pretty well. Their pitching has been very, very beat up, and once they start to get a little bit healthier, look out for Houston down the late stretch of the season. Over in the National League, I think the Giants are playing a little bit better right now. And from what I've heard and what I read on the Giants telecast and the pregame shows and some of the newspapers out there, they're going to be aggressive with the trade deadline. The Giants, if you remember, they were trying They were trying to get Chris Bryant a couple of years ago. They tried so hard to get Aaron Judge. They tried a pass at Ohtani. Like, they want to spend money, so they will have no issue acquiring Guerrero or somebody that may come with a hefty tag or a guy that they want to trade for and sign. I think San Francisco is a player at the trade deadline. I think they'll be aggressive, and that's why I like them. Plus 250 to make the playoffs. I'm going to take a shot that all that money that they wanted to dump into some of those stars the last 2 years that they never got to spend, they're ready to make a move here now. Do they have enough prospects to give back? I don't know that for sure. They seem to think they have enough to get a couple pieces to make them contenders, and I think in a pretty weak National League, they would have a shot of making the playoffs at plus 250. I think it's a great number. So, based on the fact they'll be buyers, I think it's a good one. Division winners, Orioles minus 135 to win the East. If you want to bet that, you better hurry up because that's eventually going to get up to around 160, 175, then up to $2 because the Yankees are going to be fading. They might end up being Boston in second place in that division. And then the Astros. Right now, you can get them even money to win the West. They're coming hard. They're charging. They're getting healthy. Jump on that right now before that one goes down. And then I thought this was interesting, too. The price to win the World Series, the league to win the World Series, the American League is plus money, plus 105. Now, I would say that the Orioles, who definitely need to be aggressive here in England just scored. Incredible. The Orioles, who definitely need to be aggressive at the trade deadline to be able to have a shot here. They got to add a little bit. They got to add some pitching. And if they do, then they'll have a shot. But I think the American League is probably going to be a league where you're going to have Houston. He's offside, so this should come back. I think you're going to have Houston and Baltimore, who could end up being the two very best teams. And then you got Cleveland, who I got to say, they're under the radar, but they are really, really good. And if they add anything, they're going to be completely all in to try to win this thing. So I think you got three really, really good teams in the American League. So I'll take the plus 105 on those teams. And I'm not sure what's going on here with this review, but I think this is a clear offside. Clearly offside, and I don't know what's happening. They still have 2-1 up here. But anyway, those are the baseball plays I kind of like. Getting into tennis right now, you have Wimbledon going down to the very, very last couple of days here. Players are starting to fade. Alex de Minaur pulled out right before he had to play Novak Djokovic today. He's injured, and you got a lot of injuries popping up here. Let's see. It was, I believe, Lorenzo Mazzetti. Yeah, Lorenzo Mazzetti beat Taylor Fritz today, so he is now into the semifinals. So in the men's semis, you have Daniil Medvedev and Carlos Alcaraz. I'll already be telling you I like that match over Medvedev, who really, really has about as superior talent as almost anybody in this tournament, and his grass court game has improved a bunch. He's made a great run here. Very, very impressive. Although, I will say in our bad beats section, as we get to that, it's going to cross into tennis. Grigor Dimitrov, who was playing Daniil Medvedev on Sunday. Dimitrov was a guy we had in a ton of futures, if you remember. If you look through them all to win the quarters, to win, to match up in certain rounds with people, exact as in the finals, and he was well on his way. He was dominating. He was playing great tennis. He's up 3-0 on Medvedev to start the match. Gets hurts his knee, slides, hurts his knee, ends up losing the next 5 games to Medvedev, and then Dimitrov had to retire, so we lost him there. Hurkacz had to retire with an injury the previous round. Emma Raducanu had to retire on Sunday with an injury. Actually, you know what? She finished her match, I think, but she was completely compromised and could not play. Madison Keys had a knee injury and had to withdraw or let her opponent walk over, basically retire from the match. The grass is getting slick out there. It has been dangerous. There's been a lot of rain. There's been a lot of moisture. There's been a lot of humidity. So I don't know what the remedy is here for these, but it's really been disappointing. There's been a lot of key people hurt there, and it really messed us up a lot. We had Hurkacz to go very deep. We had Dimitrov to go very deep. But it doesn't excuse some of the bad luck we've had on the women's side or just bad picks. But nevertheless, you have the semis are set in the men's, and I do like that first match, which would be Medvedev and Novak Djokovic. That I do like that Medvedev and Carlos Alcaraz to go over. They don't have the posted numbers yet. And then Djokovic against Mazzetti. This one's tricky. If the total's very low, I may play it over because I bet Novak, who's going to be well rested here, he probably isn't going to have to go all out in this match if he plays his cards right. He could probably win this in 4. He might just get pissed and take it in 3 after what they did to him the other day, booing him on the court during the Holger Rune. And got to give Holger Rune, a guy I've talked about on the show a lot. He's a good young Danish kid. Kid's going to win some majors. And, man, what a classy kid he was. Just talking about how much Novak's done for tennis and just how much he helps these young players. And Rune just handled with total class as the people were being idiots. Imagine that, English people being idiots. But the booing Djokovic, they don't like him because he didn't get vaccinated, and those people are complete fools. Djokovic won that battle. I think it's pretty clear. But that should have been a penalty there, but they're not going to give it to him, I'm sure, as the Dutch, again, with a chance. It looked like a handball. And then in the women's action at Wimbledon, Barbara Krejcikova wins over Elena Ostapenko. And she now will be in the semifinals. And Elena Rybakina, who is a seasoned winner of majors and a really good player, really good solid all-around player, takes care of Svitolina today. So that sets up Donna Vekic and Jasmine Paoli in the one semifinal, Barbara Krejcikova and Elena Rybakina in the other final. We had Rybakina in a couple of our exactas for the finals. Didn't get the other side of it to go, but a lot of upsets in the women there. Definitely a lot of volatility there. But you got to tip your cap to Paolini, who's in the semifinals, and then she ended up making it to the finals of the friendship. And so she's played really, really well, kind of a late developer, finally got healthy in her career. So I'll post any other tennis plays that I have, BLS_PRPs, where you can find those. All right, we're going to take a break now. And we'll be back with more Bettor's Last Stand after this. We still got to talk some soccer, some CFL, some Aussie rules, and of course, racing in the third part of the show with Sam. It's Bettor's Last Stand, Show 91 from the Pine Room Studios.
Reminder, this show is for informational and entertainment purposes only. All wagering activities should only be conducted by those 21 years of age or older and within the confines of federal, state, and local law. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, contact 1-800-GAMBLER. That's 1-800-426-2537. All right, men, load the cannons and hold the line. You're listening to Bettor's Last Stand.
All right, welcome back. Bettor's Last Stand, Show 91. Pine Room Studios, downtown Wheeling. If you haven't heard about the Brownie House yet, you better get on over to yesbrownies.com today. 20% off your order by using the promo code PINEROOM. These brownies are incredible. Homemade, no preservatives, the finest ingredients you'll ever find, and they're just delicious desserts. They got all kinds of different offerings there, cookies, whoopie pies, just fantastic stuff. So can't recommend those enough. So be sure and hop on over to the Brownie House at yesbrownies.com. Place your order today. England and Holland down to the last 2 minutes here. This is a really frustrating situation for me. I probably never mentioned it on this show before, but I've always been a big Dutch soccer fan, like probably since the early 90s. And since America always sucked in these international tournaments, other than maybe a couple of years, you always needed another team. It's kind of like having to being a Pirate fan or something. For being a Red Sox fan or an Oriole fan, too, for a long time. You're always looking for, you got to have a few teams because you're going to struggle. But you never had, United States was never a factor. 94, the first time they ever even really got on the world stage at all when they hosted the Cup here in the States. But the Dutch played an incredibly exciting brand of soccer, and I love playing with them on FIFA, the video game. And I've been a Dutch soccer fan, like I say, since the early 90s. Used to know all the players. I still do. It's their fun brand. I'm really, so I gotta have a little bit of a personal attachment to this as well. Not to mention that I just thought they were a team that was very dangerous in this tournament, not getting any respect at all because they were in that group with France. That is an absolutely awful call. So this is going to be an agonizing, probably another half an hour here as we approach extra time, and you know how these matches turn out. I mean, I've been wanting England to lose the last 3 matches. They should have really lost the last 3 matches, and they just don't. But nonetheless, semis conclude today. Winner will play Spain. I'm hopeful that the Spanish can be a thorn in the side of England if they are to get through. So that's my only hope, because I just feel like Holland will have something go wrong here. You've seen it too many times. Bad beats. Let's go through those here before we get into some other stuff here. Joey Chestnut on at the Nathan's hot dog eating dropped sportsbook handle by about a third on the event. So people didn't know. What that tells me is people didn't know who to bet. So which makes sense. Mickey Sudo wins for the women. And, Bartoletti, I think, was the winner for the men. He was around 10-1. Couldn't touch Chestnut, though. He didn't even come close to what Chestnut would have put up or what it has. Oh, my goodness. They just scored. England just scored. Yep, well, I knew better. And Jude Bellingham, who scored the goal, should have been sent off for a ridiculous red card that should have been called. I tell you, this stuff is really, really hard to stomach. It really is. And in the Dutch now, if you don't think this stuff can be rigged, you should watch the Operation Flagrant Foul video show on Tim Donaghy, because that's what you got going on here again. It looks like this guy clearly. I mean, the Dutch have got like 3 yellow cards in the last 5 minutes. They've got a yellow card and a penalty that should not have been. And then this guy who nearly just broke a guy's leg just scored the winning goal. And it's going to stand. Just devastation, but no surprise. And I was getting ready to talk about this. The guy's name is Felix Zweier, who is the referee. He was suspended for match fixing years back. And it makes you just wonder. And there was a bettor at DK that had England to win the Euro, so they got to win this match and the next match to win $987,000. He already has the Celtics and Scotty Scheffler in already, so the ticket was 55-1. So it might be this guy. It could very well be this Felix Zweier guy, because I knew this was going to happen. So I actually bet cards over the total. I thought it was a gift that was only 3.5, which is just bizarre. But I knew this was going to happen. The Dutch were going to get everything go against them. It's just the way it always works with England, and the way it always works with the Dutch. It's heartbreaking. I tell you, it really is. And I'm not even from Holland, but it is heartbreaking to see another tournament where they are probably the better team and they have the worst luck ever. Bet Rivers guy hit a 10-leg Major League Baseball money line parlay the other night, $700, and he won $155,000. Incredible job. 10 for 10 MLB money lines. I don't care what they are, who they are. That is absolutely unimaginable to be able to pull that off. Just an incredibly difficult feat. And tip your cap to him. NFL futures picking up steam right now. August 1st, about 20 days away, we got the Hall of Fame game. Yippee. From Canton, Ohio. Division previews will be coming up here. Bettor's last stand here. We got about 8 weeks. So we'll be full speed ahead for those, talking about it on the radio as well. I'm going to give you a little rundown of some of the things that I like on the show today. And then you can tune in on Friday to the watchdognetwork.com, and you can hear us, oh my Lord, in 2 minutes. This is criminal. This is criminal. Wow. So there's been cards, there's been injuries, there's been delay tactics, and they've given the Dutch 2 minutes of stoppage time. I tell you what, this is an atrocity. And again, it won't get talked about because we don't talk about soccer in our country enough. And this referee will just go without any there's a high stud tackle from an English guy. This will go with complete. Oh jeez, he's got his heels clipped. I apologize. I shouldn't be getting this. This is the way it is, and it's not really. It doesn't have anything. Another yellow card. And another. It doesn't really have anything to do with my bet. It's more just because I hate England and I'm a Dutch fan. But nevertheless, it looks like it's going to be Spain and England in the final. I'm going to have to root hard for the Spanish here, who have been the best team in the tournament. So I have that going for me. But pretty disappointing. We had some really big tickets that were going to come in if the Dutch could get through here, and they really haven't had a fair shake here whatsoever. Incredibly disheartening. All right, so we got 4 tickets left in the Euros. Cody Gakpo to win the Golden Boot. That was going to be a good one. Netherlands reached the semis. We cashed out in Spain, as I said, but we had Netherlands and Spain exacta in the final. It's tough. It's tough to watch his last few minutes. CFL football. Let's shift over to that because I'm about to just turn this off right now. I don't even want to see it. That was a horrendous turn of events, and I'm just turning it off because I don't want to watch England celebrate. It's pretty agonizing to me. All right, so CFL action. Here we go. We're on to week 6 right now. Toronto and Montreal play on Thursday, so I won't give you anything in that one. Friday's game, 8:30 p.m. kickoff. It'll be the Calgary Stampeders and the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Winnipeg got in the win column last week. Finally, they went to 1-4. We had them. I'll be going with them here again this week. -4.5 against Calgary. Calgary, like I said, they were awful on defense. They could not tackle. So small lean to the over here, 47.5 on the total. And I think Winnipeg might start getting in onto a little roll here. I like them at home to win this game big over Calgary. I expect that line to probably tick up a little bit. So if you get it, bet it on Friday, get it up there before Friday night. It might go to 5 or 5.5, I would expect. Saturday's game, Saskatchewan comes in 4-0 on the season. Then they go to the BC Lions, who are 4-1. BC Lions laying 7 at home against the undefeated Rough Riders of Saskatchewan. I'm going to take Saskatchewan plus the 7. I even saw some 7.5s popping up. Check the injury report on that one, but Saskatchewan had a couple guys questionable for the game. Hopefully they're able to play, but I like the 7.5 for the undefeated team. I think they can keep it within a field goal for sure on Saturday. So we're going with Saskatchewan there to try to cover the 7, catching 7 on the road. Sunday's action, 7 o'clock kickoff here to be the Ottawa Red Blacks 2-2 on the season against the 0-4 Edmonton Elks, -4 at home, the total 49. We're going with Edmonton here. Edmonton minus the 4 at home. I like them. Ottawa, not very good. They've been decent at home, but I think they'll be up against it on the road. Edmonton's really going to sell out to try to get a win here. They really want to get in the win column badly, and this will be one of the few games they'll have an actual chance of winning the game. So we'll be going with Edmonton minus the 4 at home on Sunday evening. So that, recapping those again, Friday's game, Winnipeg minus the 4, 4.5, maybe even get to 5, so bet that early. And then probably a lean to the over, the 47.5 there, as Calgary's defense is pretty bad. Saskatchewan on Saturday, plus the 7, 7.5 at BC. That's a Saturday evening game. We're on the Rough Riders. And then Sunday, we'll take the Edmonton Elks at home, -4 against the Ottawa Red Blacks. All right, Aussie Rules Football. We're into round 18. So we only got about 6-7 weeks left of that, which is pretty devastating and depressing to me. But things heating up right now. Teams are starting to kick it in gear. Some of the ones who had their little dip, their midseason dip, they're coming back up. Port Adelaide, Geelong, Brisbane on a roll right now. So it's been pretty exciting. Starting off at the early match on Friday, you probably won't have this one. It'll be Geelong and Collingwood will go over the 169.5. Collingwood's lost 2 in a row to not very good teams. So that's weird because Collingwood was a team, started off poorly. They won the league last year, started off poor, came back up there playing great, and now they've dipped again. So this is an incredibly grueling test of body strength. How these guys hold up to what they got to deal with no pads and just an incredibly physical game where they don't get babied by the officials or the rules. And it's an incredible testament to how tough these dudes really are and how they can make it through a 24-game season is quite remarkable in my estimation. Fremantle and Hawthorn in a night game on Friday. You'll be able to catch this one 11:45 Eastern time. It'll be Fremantle 10-5 on the road at Hawthorn 8-8. Hawthorn's won 5-6, and they're the most surprising team here at all. They did play pretty decently the end of last year, so they're one of the bottom dwellers who we thought was going to kind of start to trend their way up. Fremantle's won 3 in a row. They'll be 3.5-point favorites here. Don't like anything on the spread, but we'll go over the 159.5. That's the Dockers and the Hawks over 159 on Friday night. Also a Friday night game, 11:45, first bounce, North Melbourne at Sydney. Now, Sydney comes in 13-3. They've lost 2 in a row, and they lost to Freo and St. Kilda, both by a couple of points each time. I think they lost by 2 and 3. St. Kilda had no business beating Sydney. I bet Sydney's coach was so pissed at them last week for losing that game. St. Kilda should have never been able to score in the 80s. Just a very disappointing outcome for the Swans, who now lost 2 in a row, as I said. North Melbourne beat Gold Coast last week. I said that wasn't enough points for me. Damn it. I should have pulled the trigger on that. I thought maybe they'd hang in the game. I was like, I like a few more points. Should have just bet them on the money line and rolled the dice because I know Gold Coast is a very deficient team. They have a lot of problems. So North Melbourne moves to 2-14 on the season. They got no shot here. Swans will stomp them. That'll probably be a 50-point game. So Look for your adjusted spreads, alternate spreads for those. Sydney minus the points, and we'll go over 174.5 on Friday night. Carlton and Western, 2:30 a.m. on Saturday morning or Friday night, however you want to look at it. Carlton comes in 11-5, Western 8-8. Last week, Carlton lost to GWS, and Western was crushed by Port Adelaide, who needed that because they've been slumping a little bit. I like the over in this game, 175.5. I think both these teams go up and down a little bit, both coming off bad losses. I think they'll be very attack-oriented in this match early on Saturday. Then we switch over to the really actually Saturday morning games. It'll be Adelaide hosting St. Kilda, 5:30 a.m. on Saturday. St. Kilda 6-10 on the season, but they do come off a huge win over number 1 Sydney. I think they have a major letdown here. And Adelaide, who I will never really feel good about backing, they're 5-10-1 on the season. Just a team that can never get out of neutral. But I'm going to take them here, minus 13.5, only because St. Kilda off the bounce. And we'll go under 158.5. St. Kilda scored like 86 last week or something, 84, 86. They'll never do that again. I just don't see it. Adelaide, who usually keeps the games pretty low scoring, will go under 158.5 in that one and take the Crows minus 13.5. Also, Saturday morning game, Essendon in Melbourne. The Demons host the Bombers. Demons 9-7. Essendon 10-5-1. Essendon 9.5 point favorite on the road. The total 165.5. Melbourne has been not very good this year, but we're going to go under here. Melbourne and Essendon, both these teams to me are like rudderless offenses. Essendon's been, sniffing around the top 4, but they're really not very good. So we'll go under 165.5 in that matchup. Port Adelaide, who got it on track last week, they will be at Gold Coast, 11:10 Eastern Time. 11:10 p.m. Eastern Time match up here. Port Adelaide at Gold Coast. Port Adelaide 10-6. Gold Coast, the Suns are 8-8. It'll be Gold Coast minus 6.5. Now this looks like one of those games. It's like the wrong team is favored. So proceed with caution there. I may abandon this play, but right now I'm going to go with Port Adelaide. But I got to read more into this, who's available for Port Adelaide, because the fact that they're a dog here to Gold Coast is concerning. 166.5 the total. I do like the game over the total. I think Port Adelaide will get a lot of opportunities to score against the pretty bad Gold Coast defense. So right now we'll go with Port plus 6.5 over the 166.5. GWS at Richmond, 1:20 a.m. on Saturday night, Sunday morning, however you want to look at it. GWS 9-7, Richmond 2-14. We're getting close to being able to cash our season-long bet on Richmond under, so that's good. And for them to have the fewest wins, they're tied right now. If we could get North Melbourne to pull off one more. So this game features GWS, who's minus 24.5 on the road. The total 169.5. We'll be going over here. I've been going on some unders with Richmond lately, but Richmond seems to have kind of put it together a little bit on offense. They've been playing a little more aggressively. They're going to open it up here. GWS, the gates are open against them all the time. So 169.5 will go over the total there in the Giants and Tigers. And then the finale, 2:40 a.m. Sunday morning, Saturday night, Brisbane Lions at the West Coast Eagles. West Coast 3-13. Brisbane 9-6-1. They've won 6 in a row. They're laying 28.5 here. That's not going to be enough for West Coast. We'll take Brisbane minus the points here. They're rolling along, and we'll go over 167.5. So let me recap these really quickly. Freo and Hawthorn over 159. Sydney minus the 49.5 and over 174 against North Melbourne. Carlton and Western over 175.5. Adelaide minus the 13.5 and under 158.5 against St. Kilda. Essendon and Melbourne, the Demons, under 165.5. Port Adelaide plus 6.5 over 166.5 against Gold Coast. GWS and Richmond over 169.5. Brisbane minus the 28.5 and over 167.5 against the Eagles of West Coast. That'll do it for the AFL Round 18 action. As I said, Big 3 didn't have the numbers up yet, so we'll get back to you on that one. We started out 2-0. Trilogy got a win and an over for us early, and then poof, we went downhill badly after that. See if we can turn it around. If we are able to get some good numbers there. Disappointment though sets in as we, the game, the soccer match went sideways for us, lost some big tickets. Going to give you a quick rundown here, some NFL bets, just a really quick. Not going to elaborate a lot on them. I'll talk a bunch about this on the radio with the guys on Friday as we are on from 12 to 3, so you're going to want to check that out as we start getting into football mode over on the Watchdog. But just some future bets that I went through and made some notes, and I'll go through the team by team on the radio Friday. But some of the ones that stick out to me right away. I like the Bears under the 8.5. The Bears are like the darling team of the world right now. Everyone's talking them up about how good they are. And while I agree that Caleb Williams is probably going to be a lot better pro than Justin Fields, Caleb Williams is kind of soft. He's had some very soft moments. He played in a very soft conference. He behaved very soft against teams when they pushed back and beat him up a little bit. And when USC didn't have their way with somebody, he kind of pouted. He kind of acted like a baby. So that would worry me, at least early on. I think it's going to take him a while, and I think his natural talent is going to be very good. I think he's going to be kind of a feast and famine, but I think you're going to see some mistakes. I think you're going to see some situations where they may have to take him out of a game just to save his psyche for later in the season. And they got all these weapons, and it's going to be hard to please all these guys. So I have no confidence at all in Eberflus as a coach. I can't believe the guy still has a job. So I'm going under the Bears. You can find some 9s out there. If you can find a 9, I'd definitely go on that. But under the 8.5 plus 130, I think they win between 5 and 8 games. I just don't see them getting any more than that. I don't think they're going to be terrible. I really don't. But they're probably not going to be as good as you think. And Green Bay probably falls along the same lines there. They're going to be right around their win total, which I don't really have an official play on them. Lions are the team to beat in that division, no question about it. Bears to miss the playoffs, even money. I think that's a good price. A lot's got to go right here. I know that their defense, they lost Roquan Smith and they traded away a couple other guys, and I don't know what they were doing there. They retooled their offense, but is their defense good enough? They're in a division that could be decent. I don't know. I think it's going to be a tough task for this team to win 9 games. So we're going to go Bears under 8.5 or 9 if you can find it. In the NFC South, we'll go. We're going to fade the Saints. Dennis Allen, he's just not an NFL coach. I have no confidence in Derek Carr in the situation that he's in. I can't even tell you their wide receivers right now off the top of my head. They have Alvin Kamara, oh boy. Defense was okay, but they were never in a comfortable spot in games where they were ever in control. They never controlled the game last year, and I just don't see how they win 8 games here. So we'll go under 7.5 there with New Orleans. Between 5 and 7 wins tops for this team. I think Carolina will be better. Atlanta will be better just because of Kirk Cousins if he's healthy. And then you throw in Tampa, who was a battlers team last year. They played admirable, and Todd Bowles somehow has got his team to rally together. Now, I don't love Todd Bowles by any means, but he's a better coach than Dennis Allen, and he's probably a better coach than Raheem Morris. And the verdict's still out on the guy at Carolina, but that division doesn't have a whole lot. Moving on to the NFC West. No play on the 49ers. I think their win total is probably pretty fair, 11.5. I expect them to win right around that. I made tad lean to the under there. They've got some little bit of inner team question marks, if you ask me. Some guys chirping a little bit. I think some guys starting to blame Shanahan for some of the antics in the Super Bowl, not knowing the rules. And whenever you start to have that, there are little chinks in the armor. So while I expect them to be good again, they may not be quite as good. Or they just may say, you know what, we've peaked too early. We're going to try to make our best run late in the year, and maybe they only care about winning 11 games, and then they're set and they're in a good spot, because I think this division is going to be very good, so you could see several teams beating up on each other. Seattle takes a big step up in my book. They get a brand new coach in Mike McDonald. I think he's going to do a great job there. I think they'll win at least 8 games. Going to have a good defense. Can Geno Smith play? That's the question. I also like them plus 180 to make the playoffs. I know that'll piss BMAC off, the Sea Hags in the playoffs, but I think they just get in an NFC that has a lot of open spots because there's a lot of bad teams. So Seattle gets in. I think they win 8 games. And then I like the Rams. I didn't understand how Seattle was priced with a higher win total than the Rams. The Rams came on well last year. They have 2 all-pro receivers. Stafford still got a little bit left. Aaron Donald's really good. I get that, but they drafted really well in defense and have some guys that can, fill in as a committee, and I don't think they're going to be that far off. So I think this team wins. I think they win really 8 or 9 games. Definitely going to eclipse 6 if Stafford stays healthy. So that's one of my better plays right there is the Rams over. And then, as I said, to make the playoffs, I think the Rams are a playoff team. I think the Seahawks are a playoff team. I think the Jaguars and the AFC are a playoff team. I think the Steelers, I'm still worried that the Steelers need to add a receiver. I don't know what they're doing or what they're waiting on. So that worries me a tad because they're upgrade at quarterback, whether you like or hate Russell Wilson. He's an upgrade over what they had. And then the Chargers, a plus 110, Harbaugh, he can get them in. There's spots to be had. A lot of teams have regressed, like the Bengals, who I'm very down on once more. I just don't see the Joe Burrow effect. I'll be going under 10.5 for them, but you've already heard that plenty of times. I don't need to elaborate on it anymore. I think this will be the nail in the coffin for the Bengals. I think they will fall from grace rather quickly. But we'll talk more NFL on the radio show, watchdognetwork.com, if you're interested. Checking it out noon to 3 on Tuesday and Friday, this Friday's show, and then we're on for an hour on Monday. So good stuff there. We'll talk plenty of NFL. And then a couple of early things here. No official plays here, but just what I'm thinking here. Drake May, 2,400.5 yards, passing yards. Under probably looks pretty good there. And playing season total yards and things over for guys, it's incredibly risky. You're at a major disadvantage because if you have an injury, if you have anything go wrong, these can go sideways. So I recommend only playing unders unless there's a guy you're really, 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 really sure about. But unders are a much safer play because if Drake May doesn't get the job or gets yanked, you got a winner. If Dak Prescott gets hurt, I'm going to recommend under 4,150.5 yards. So 4,150.5 yards passing for Prescott. I like it under. He's got an injury that he's coming into camp with. He's got CeeDee Lamb that's going to hold out. CeeDee Lamb seems like a kind of guy that would hold out for the whole season. So I think that's got some value to it there. And in Dallas, we already know they're just not very good. Let's see. Russell Wilson over 27.50. And I said I don't like playing overs. I would not play this. I'm slight lean to this, but I needed him to get another receiver, and he gets hurt a lot too. Steelers did upgrade their line, so I think that could be some potential. And the guy puts up good stats. So that's one. I'd probably lean to the over. I do lean to the over there, and I may pull the trigger on it, but I'm not certain about it yet. Bo Nix under 28.50 passing yards. I am not a Sean Payton guy. I'd have him in the bottom 10 coaches in the league. I still don't understand why people love him so much. He's never really done anything. He had a really good all-world quarterback in Drew Brees, who was a tactician out there. All his hocus-pocus crap with Taysom Hill and all that, it never did anything once Drew Brees was on his way out or out of there. I'm not a Sean Payton guy. The roster in Denver is not very good, at least on the offensive side of the ball, and I just have no faith this guy will get anything together. And you're going to put Bo Nix, who is mistake-prone in the SEC, you're going to put him in a division with now Jim Harbaugh as a coach and Andy Reid, who has Steve Spagnuolo, who's got one of the best defenses in the league, and the reason why the Chiefs probably won the Super Bowl last year. So there you go. There's two ridiculous defenses for Bo Nix to go against, and not to mention all the other teams they got to play. No faith in this guy, no faith in Peyton, so we'll go under. I'm not even sure this guy keeps the job, so under 28.50 for Bo Nix. And then Joe Burrow, under 4,000.5 yards for him. He'll get hurt. He'll have issues. There'll be problems. Everything about that I read about the Bengals, it just backs up my claim. They got rated the worst fitness and nutrition program in the NFL. F- for their cafeteria. They got nothing going for them. It's a shame, too, because I'm not anti-Cincinnati at all. I like the city. I like the team, but like the team as a team, not the team that as is assembled now. I think they got a bad coach, too. But anyway, that gives you a little taste of the NFL for us here. Bettor's Last Stand, Show 91. We're going to take a break. Come back, talk racing with Sam, talk Pirates, trade deadline, all-star game, Will Skeens start, all that good stuff. It's Bettor's Last Stand, Show 91 from the Pine Room Studios. We'll be back.
Reminder, this show is for informational and entertainment purposes only. All wagering activities should only be conducted by those 21 years of age or older and within the confines of federal, state, and local law. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, contact 1-800-GAMBLER. That's 1-800-426-2537. All right, men, load the cannons and hold the line. You're listening to Bettor's Last Stand.
All right, welcome back in. It's Bettor's Last Stand, Show 91 from the Pine Room Studios, downtown Wheeling. Sam joins me now from Upper St. Clair in the heart of pirate country. So many rumors swirling around these buccos right now. You have reporters coming out saying that they're going to be buyers. Then it comes out that no, Nutting just said that, but what he really told management is they're not buyers. They have no money. Then you have them talking on other media outlets about them shutting down the pitchers. That's coming, that they're going to be sellers, that Chapman is moving for sure, Henry Davis is gone, Key Brown Hayes is gone. They're going to be sellers and then be all in next year, which will be a lie. And then you got another story surfacing today about them being interested in Ward from the Angels. Was that to calm down the emotions of yesterday's frustration, which everybody was talking about, which was that Nutting said there is no money? Sam, where do you stand in all of this right now, and how many times do we have to go through this, my man?
Well, as I sit here with my Bucko Luau shirt on, I have absolutely no clue. Like, we've never been in this scenario as Pirate fans with just all these made-up rumors. You know, we're never really in it.
Right.
So I don't know what to believe, but I've come to the conclusion that nothing that I've read is true. Not one thing is true.
Safe.
I read the article this today that they're interested in Ward, or pursuing it is what it said, pursuing him. And then I saw an hour later that they're just interested in him. If there was anyone on the Angels, it would be him that they're interested in. So I don't know who these sources are. I don't know who's talking to who. I don't believe any of it.
Yeah, and to make matters more interesting, they had a nice win in Milwaukee last night. The bats showed up, got some decent pitching. That was kind of a surprise there, I would say. But the thing about it, I always wonder how teams are going to react when you see that. Now, all these players and managers, they always say this about how we don't listen to the buzz, we don't listen to the media. That's a lie. Everybody you know talks about it. You got social media. Somebody's going to tell you about what Nutting said. So as players, do you come out pissed off and say, we're going to show him that he should buy? But it's not going to work that way with this guy. He's so cheap. If they keep performing well, he's less likely to trade for someone.
Yeah, that's it. They're in such a hard spot. The power that this guy has that owns the team is incredible, because he said, Ben Cherington said, we need to get better organically before we make a move. So if they get better organically, they're going to just say, hey, we don't need to make a move.
Right. Yeah.
We're doing good. And that's exactly where they are. And if they don't make a move, I wouldn't be shocked. But honestly, we keep saying it. They have to, now, because once the main guys are gone, they're gone. There aren't backups.
No, there's not. And that, the Ward guy, he's not putting them over the top probably, and it's not going to be a guy you're going to be able to sell to your fan base a whole lot. Baseball people that follow it will say the guy's solid, but he hits really well against lefties. So, he's like the reverse Jack Sawinski. But I don't know. I think they're going to say that, Rowdy Tellez starting to perform now. It's like we just traded for him, when he was good. That's what they'll say. That's the shit they say.
It is, but it's like if Rowdy Tellez played like this all year, first base really wouldn't be an issue. This is what we're paying you for. You're doing pretty well. It's just like, man, get Quinn Priester out of there. He got the one win. It's like it took this long to get Quinn Priester a win. You know what's coming next, Matt.
Right.
He's getting pulled in 2 1/3.
Yeah. It's just everything about the Pirates is just amazing. And you know what? And credit Skeens, he just keeps doing his job with all the noise around him. So it's good to see. He actually got some run support finally. But you know what? Maybe Rowdy Tellez is just playing better so he can get traded himself. Maybe they'll move him.
Oh man, that would fucking really make me mad. And I also am starting to think there's a small chance, Matt, Jared Jones isn't hurt.
Yeah, I suspect that. If you read into this stuff and you can even see some people close to clubhouses across the league, and when they have these young pitchers have hit any type of little hiccup spot, they'll invent little injuries for them. Yeah. It's pretty obvious that they do, and to get them mentally, and then save their arm for a little bit. And yeah, I think that goes on a lot. So I agree with you. I don't think that I think that's kind of made up. I think it was one of those things like, oh well, he got a little bump somewhere, and it's like, oh, well, that looks bad. Let's put you down for a little bit. I think it's pretty obvious.
The classic Kawhi Leonard knee soreness is what I call it.
He's out of the Olympics. What a surprise.
I know.
What's Team USA doing investing in time in him anyway? He can't stay healthy. The way they'll play like 6 or 7 games in 2 weeks. He can't do that. It's impossible.
Matt, what he did for himself by winning a championship in Toronto is unbelievable.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable what he did for his career.
Yeah.
How we view him.
And now they just hand him money to sit out. It's beyond imagination. The last thing on the Pirates, what do you make of the Jackson Holiday for Jared Jones scenario? That just doesn't seem to hold water for me.
Matt, that's just like, so you mean you're going to trade a guy that pitches every 5 days for a guy that plays every day?
Right.
They don't equal each other at all. There had to have been something else in this made-up deal. I don't think it's true. I do not believe that. I don't think either. They made this huge deal about Jackson Holiday's making his debut. Will he make the roster? To trade him to the Pirates?
Yeah, and he did struggle immensely, and he wasn't ready to come up. But he's the number one prospect in all of baseball, and the Orioles don't need guys on the Pirates. I mean, the only guy that they really would want. I mean, I'm not saying they turn away Jones, but like they don't need that. They need like proven commodities. They need a bullpen. They're not going to take Aroldis Chapman. Like obviously they're not getting Skeens for Holiday. So, but like other than that, the Orioles have no use for the Pirates roster. They don't need any of the guys the Pirates have.
No, and it's just a stupid. It just seems made up. Like somebody was just like, "Yeah, I'm just gonna make this up. They're gonna trade Jared Jones and Jackson Holiday."
Yeah, well,
like Jared Jones is a good pitcher.
Yeah,
but it's leveled itself out, and now there's a big difference from Jones to Skeens.
Yeah, like
Skeens he's just leaps and bounds ahead of Jones, and
he
Jones is good.
Yeah. Jones is going to be a good like number 2 type starter probably if he keeps getting better. But yeah, I mean Jackson Holiday, you're giving up a potential of a chance the guy can play every day. Now the Orioles don't need that either, but they're going to get more back for him than just that. A guy who has only done it for one half a season in Jared Jones. You got to see a little bit more. And you're going to have to get a little bit more than that. But we'll see. Buccos and Milwaukee, and then Chicago, and then All-Star break, and then we'll see what happens. Sam, a few more weeks.
Matt, honestly, it's like I wouldn't be surprised if I see an article tomorrow that says the Pirates and Orioles were discussing their number 1 overall pick trades, like Davis for Holiday, something stupid like that. Like I don't know where these things are coming from.
Right? Yes. Let's. The Orioles ought to try to go out and get Henry Davis. That'd be perfect for them. They got Adley Rutschman. He can probably be the catcher for the next 10 years. But yeah.
Right.
Oh boy! All right, so let's switch over to racing, and let's go right to what I'd say was the biggest story of the weekend, and that was Lewis Hamilton getting into victory lane. No F1 race this week, but Lewis returns to victory lane. The F1 race doesn't disappoint again as far as excitement, but as far as some team strategies and some things go, I tell you what, for as many guys and as many engineers and all these analysts that they have in these teams, how do they fuck this up all the time, especially Ferrari? I'm talking to you, Ferrari. Like, what are you doing? How are some of these lesser teams like Williams, like they're outperforming you in strategy? How is that possible?
It shouldn't be. It's almost as if like they go to these races after they do something good and they like forget to bring the mechanics with them, and they have to like pull people off of the grid. Like just random people, like, hey, fix this car real quick. Like we need somebody that can fix this. Yeah,
so Amelia Clark from Game of Thrones, Daenerys Targaryen's there in the McLaren, garage. She knows more than what Ferrari exhibited on this day. And if you're not sure what we're talking about, folks, Charles Leclerc, the ridiculous tire and pit strategy that went on there, he ends up finishing 14th with a car that actually should have been a podium car. It's just inexcusable. And then these constructor, this is starting to heat up a little bit, the constructors race, because Red Bull can't get a second finish. And that'll take us to our next discussion point is Sergio Perez and Kyle Busch. They ought to go on a retreat together. Those two fucking guys are about as far out of chances of winning as there is in racing right now.
Yeah, I mean, I don't understand what is happening in F1 right now. Like, I'm not saying it's fully back, but I'm all in.
Right.
I mean, like, it was like you turn it on, you watch, Max gets the lead, eventually you can just, what's going to happen. But now, I mean, honestly, I do not know what's going to happen the rest of the season.
No.
The fact that Lewis Hamilton actually, I didn't really think was going to happen, Matt, it changed the whole ball game for me.
Yeah. and Mercedes
ball game.
wins
They've
back to
been
back.
pretty good these last couple weeks.
Yeah, back-to-back wins, but they didn't connect the water hose on George. How do you have a water leak?
George.
I mean, you got a contending car. You could win 2 in a row. So I don't. It's just bizarre to me. They have so many guys, and yet they have these issues. Pierre Gasly, he had a short day. His gearbox blew before the damn green flag dropped.
Crazy.
All that money put into this, and that's what you get. But to your credit, Alex Albon with a top 10 finish again. I had Fernando Alonso. That was a good one. Lance Stroll with another good showing. And how about Nico Hulkenberg? He doesn't lose any spots. He started 6th, finished 6th.
What's up with that? I mean, Haas is just like, if I'm always in like the state of mind, if they're in the top 10 to start, they're not going to finish in the top 10.
Right.
It's always the opposites. If you're outside the top 10, Haas will get in. I don't know. I mean, Hulkenberg, he drove pretty well.
He did, definitely.
6th place.
Carlos Sainz was decent. Piastri, I still like what I'm seeing out of him. I think that guy's going to continue to get better. Lando Norris was strong for a while. I thought a little bit of the McLaren strategies were a little bit weird at times there. I mean, they finished 3rd and 4th, so it's hard to bitch about them too much. And Max Verstappen, he was solid. He had chance to win the race, but Lewis Hamilton, once he got it, he knew what to do and was able to hold off the big guy. And how about this? I went back and looked. That this is the first time that Max Verstappen has got beat back-to-back weeks since July of 2022 at Silverstone and Spielberg when Ferrari won. Sainz won at Silverstone and Leclerc won at Spielberg. So since 2022, Max hasn't went at least 2 races without winning one of them. It's friggin' nuts. Yeah,
that's crazy. I would have never guessed that.
Yeah. So, but we're having some parity again. We're headed to the Hungarian Grand Prix next. And I tell you what, you got to say, Sam, that of all the teams, you thought like McLaren was carrying all the momentum, but here comes Mercedes. Now I know they fucked up with George, but they won again. So, so 2 teams on a roll right now, and then you got Red Bull, who's still got Max, but their second driver is giving them no cover at all.
No cover. It's just like, I don't know if Mercedes ends this season really strong, which they really could. I wouldn't be shocked if there was just like the smallest bit of doubt of like going to Ferrari for Lewis Hamilton.
Yeah, what if he
honestly?
What if he retracted and then they got to scramble to keep Carlos Sainz?
I don't know. The Ferrari move, it seemed great at the time, like because he was struggling a lot.
Right.
But Hamilton's been up there in the top 5, top 3 these last couple of weeks, and then George has been good. I don't know if Mercedes is sort of just getting back into it, if it's a cyclical thing. I don't know. Yeah, you're right. And I thought it was interesting, and I heard an interview when your boy Martin Brundle was interviewing Lewis. And Lewis mentioned this, and this to me is a big difference. Like, the way Ferrari operates versus the way that Mercedes operates, this is a very different style. So you wonder how that'll work out. And we've seen Ferrari is had a lot of lax mistakes in recent years, and some of it's the driver's fault, but a lot of it's been their own engineers and the people making the decisions. So I can see Hamilton being pretty frustrated by that, because the one thing you're getting from Mercedes is you may have mechanical issues, but most of the time their race strategy is pretty dialed in. Yeah, I was saying I wasn't sure how to feel about Toto Wolff. Yeah. For this whole time in F1, I always thought he was kind of like a prick. Yes. I kind of like the guy now, to be honest. Yeah. I'm not sure why. I definitely respect the guy way, way more. He's had to deal with a lot. Yeah, and what I respect about him too is when they were bad, he said it, and I like that. Is you always hear these people coming on, and that's the one thing about this sport. They'll be pretty honest with you. What can you do today? And they'll flat out tell you, we'll be lucky to have a car in the top 6. I mean, he was saying that at one point. And when they were having that porpoising issue and they couldn't keep the fucking car down, and they're like, what the hell is going on here? And they never said like, oh, we're getting there. Like, they didn't say that. They didn't say positive stuff. They said, we're not good enough. We know we're not good enough. We're going to continue to try to figure this out. We got to keep working at it. So yeah, I give them credit. They got it turned around. Now they're gaining on Red Bull. But Red Bull's still there, but it's just there's some chinks in the armor. They only got one car really that's relevant. So you got Ferrari, who's so inconsistent. You got Mercedes. If they can keep George's water hose tight, then you got 2 cars there that can win now each week. And then you got the McLarens, who are pushing harder than anybody. I think one of those McLarens are going to win sooner than later again this season. Wouldn't you agree? Oh, I agree. Like I said, I think McLaren has figured out the car, getting the car up to that top 3 speed. It's just the decision of when to do certain things is the next step of when they how they develop a championship winning team. I think that's really what they got to work on now.
And with Lando still getting the preferential, pitting strategies over Piastri, and I think Piastri would be cool with it because he's new and he's coming along, but. At some point, then that gets to where they're kind of more even, and then that gets a little bit more difficult. All right, let's stay with the open wheel guys. This is one of those strange race weekends that we'll talk about in a moment, but let's talk about Mid-Ohio. Your pick did not go well. Mechanical issues for Scott Dixon.
Gasly.
Yes, he was the Pierre Gasly of the group. He made it for about 40 laps and shut it down. So Scott Dixon, you don't see that from Chip Ganassi very often. Pato O'Ward, a McLaren, gets in victory lane there. He didn't even lead the most laps. That was Alex Palou. Scott McLaughlin was third. Colton Herta ran all right. I thought he'd be decent, but I didn't sniff around the top 5 or 3 with Will Power at all. He had nothing all day. What did you think of Mid-Ohio?
It was all right. I mean, it was actually kind of boring. I don't know if it was just that, it was the first hybrid race they've ever done with those engines. And I had texted you. I said, this race is over. And Palou was in the lead. Yeah. He had that 5-second lead the whole time.
Yep.
And then, Matt, I'm watching and I said, oh my God. I said, he's gonna lose the lead here from this pit. And he did. And then it seems like, I don't know if it's because it's a hybrid. It seemed like once you got the lead with the hybrid, it was
just rocket. Yeah, you just drive away from everybody. The clean air, my God, how important that is, especially in these open wheel cars. My goodness, it's just nuts how that goes. But Pato O'Ward gets the job done. And then we head now to Iowa for this double-day Iowa weekend. I don't understand this at all, really, why they do this. Joseph Newgarden, he swept things last year and led 129 and 212 laps on each day. Like, that's freaking crazy. I'm probably going back to the well with Will Power again. He ran in the top 5 in both. He's finished second in the one last year. But can anybody dethrone Newgarden here? Has he just got this track figured out so well that he's going to be unbeatable? What do you think?
I hope he doesn't. I still think he's
You're
a
still
cheater.
Pissed at him, yeah.
Yeah, he's a cheater. He's not forever a cheater. He got caught, so you are a cheater. I was looking at McLaughlin.
Yes.
And then also I was looking at Marcus Ericsson.
Okay. All right, I like both
really
of them. He needs a damn good race, fucker.
I know. He really could use a good race.
But
I'm going to go with McLaughlin as my winner. I think he's been racing very, very strong this year. Very strong.
Yep. All right. I like that. And then Marcus Ericsson, my God, he's in such a need of a good run. I'm going to lean Will Power. He led 119 here last year. I think he can contend. And what do you think of Kyle Kirkwood's chances, Sam? I thought he was maybe worth a look.
Yeah, my 3 sleepers were Ericsson, Rossi, and Kirkwood.
Okay. All right. I think Kirkwood's he's pretty stable, so I think he'll be a decent contender. But you got to figure O'Ward's going to be around, Palou's going to be around. And then obviously Newgarden, whether he's got his turbo boosters loaded in, maybe Scott Dixon will bounce back after a tough one. And one thing we can guarantee is that Stingray Robb will be at 22 or worse probably, as he
most likely
last, I think, in one of these last year. So we shall see. Takuma Sato, he ran in this last year. I just realized
I saw
that.
Now, so. I was looking at him, but is he racing it this year?
I did not see, so I'll have to check the qualifying, who's rostered to actually qualify. But yeah, see the old boy Takuma Sato. So racing legend.
Seriously though, why do they do this twice?
I don't remember. They had that concert. Who was supposed to play there last year? I can't remember. We talked about it on the show. I don't know. It was some big entertainer, and then there was tornadoes in the area, and they had to cancel it.
I think I'm getting it confused with my NASCAR at the Coliseum.
Oh, there was a concert there too. Yeah,
I think that was Machine Gun Kelly for the halftime at the Coliseum.
We had Ice Cube. We had Machine Gun Kelly. He was rained out, but. We'll see. I don't know. These people in Iowa just must like to get together, drink beer, and watch cars go around. So I guess that's good. I can't fault them for that.
No, I can't either. But it's the same race 2 days in a row.
Right. It is weird. I don't really get it. I think it's very weird. Why don't you just run one real long Coca-Cola 600 level race?
Right.
I kind of. It is bizarre. You're bringing the exact same guys in the same track conditions right back out there. It is really, really weird. So
Right, it's
anyway.
the high V home front 250 and then the high V one-step 250. Do
Get
the
that-
high
get that-
V one-step fucking home front 500.
Yeah, I don't know. It's bizarre. They sell tickets for both, and I don't know. Probably have a good crowd for both of them, but we'll see. Should make. Now, the one thing is where am I going to find these on television for 2 days in a row? That's the question. That'll be the tricky part. We'll see what we can do. All right, let's go over to the stock car Chicago street race. Well, I want to say it didn't disappoint completely, but it did fall apart a little bit at the end. Again, we have just weird stuff happening towards the end of these races, which does make it quite interesting. And when is the last time that we saw, especially on a road course where you have the most very pronounced favorites, the top two betting interests finished dead last in Larson and Van Gisbergen, both of them with shortened days last week in Chicago. What were your observations of the race overall, Sam?
Well, I think that if they can get the weather right, this is going to be one of those races that, like, you really can see the skill of the drivers when they race on this course. And I think if they can get that weather right, not have any, commercial breaks, whether the jet drivers,
delays,
how do we buy this time? Oh, Matt, you know what pissed me off about this race? Is when they interviewed these drivers in, like, where the pit boxes are, where the crew chiefs sit.
Yeah.
They interviewed all these guys up there when it was raining.
Yes.
And then when they got back into the cars, they interviewed them again.
Yeah, I noticed that too.
Tyler Reddick got interviewed twice.
Yeah, he was sitting up on the box at one time.
Nothing going on.
Yeah, I don't know what NBC was doing with that. That was really weird. I agree.
But if they get the weather right, I think it's a great race. And the Wendy's car is cursed for the Chicago race also. You do not want to drive the Wendy's car.
No, you do not. You do not. As the Wendy's saucy nugget car was the first to go behind the wall, followed by Kyle Larson. So craziness. Chris Bell too. DNF with him. Boy, when Larson hit that barrier, my God, it was like his brakes didn't work. He couldn't turn. That's kind of scary. Couple guys had some surprise finishes here. Joey Hand with a big one, but one guy we were sure about, Ty Gibbs, we knew he was going to be a contender. Tyler Reddick, obviously, we discussed him. Michael McDowell was a good road racer. Todd Gilliland, we talked about him being pretty good. And then Alex Bowman gets the job done. Alex Bowman, just when you think he's dead, and he's pinned to the canvas, he kicks out and gets a victory.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, these Hendrick cars, man, they give you a good enough car to keep you around, and that's the proof right there. I mean, the top 10 is odd. I mean, Gilliland, he's had a pretty solid year. I'm not too shocked to see him up there.
Right.
But, like, Kyle Busch at 9, that's a shock. I can't believe he didn't crash.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, like, Joey Hand, he did race pretty well. I don't really expect to see him up there again.
No. Just road racing type specialist guy. Stenhouse, a great performance by him. Not known as a great road racer, but
no, he was good.
Solid out of him. But yeah, Bowman, you said it. The Hendrick cars. I mean, you have a lot of power under the hood there when you have a Hendrick car. It's going to be good. So whether you can take advantage of it or not, that is the question. All right, another one in the books at Chicago. I agree. I like it. I think they got to keep it. We just got to get the weather worked out. We got to have a time where it's not torrential rains and weird shit happening, and I think we'll be good to go. But we shift now to one strange track to another one, the Triangle at Pocono, which makes for a horrible viewing experience for people at the race. From every person that I've heard that have went to that track said it's really fucking horrible to watch because you can't see a whole lot, even though it's gigantic. But the banking is, so flat that you can't really see. So that makes it difficult. But I like this race for TV. There always is excitement at Pocono. I don't know why it is. You have it puts a lot of strain on the gear shifts. It's just always been a track that seems to have different outcomes that a lot of the regular ovals do not have. So with a triangle shape, it's bound to be crazy. And you got 7-time winner Denny Hamlin coming in a little bit of a slump. He won this last year. Chase Elliott the year before that. And one thing that I noticed that really has been quite significant is how bad the Fords have been here in recent years. I mean, other than Kevin Harvick, I mean, they've really, really struggled. And will that continue? Because I was considering some Ryan Blaney love this week, but, man, I don't know if the Fords got what it takes. This looks like a Toyota or Chevy race, Sam.
I know. I'm with you. One of my sleepers, I have him circled. He drives a Ford. His name is Chris Buescher.
Yes, winner here before.
I love his number, but he has not done well here at all.
It's weird because he actually won here. I think it was his first win several years ago. And you're right, his stats have been terrible here.
Terrible.
I don't know if it's just bad luck or whatever, and I was looking at Brad Keselowski too, who's not run well here either, and had some success earlier in his career. So I don't know. That it is, and I agree. You're getting Buescher at a pretty good price just because of that, and even Keselowski to an extent. But yeah, I considered Buescher. He was going to be one of my picks, but he's had a lot of issues, and he hasn't qualified well, and it's been strange for him. I'm actually surprised. All right, so you said you're a little leery of the Fords like I am. Where did you end up going for your top pick this weekend?
My top pick, honestly, my top three that I went between was Reddick, Hamlin, and Bell. I just think they're all going to be solid, but their numbers are so low.
Right.
But I think out of any of them, honestly, I'm going to go with Tyler Reddick.
I like it. I considered him too. Thought his number was fair, but a little low. But I mean, I think I see how he qualifies, and you may be able to get it a little bit better depending on where he is. And one thing about Pocono is, you can make up track position with different pit strategies because it seems like gas plays a role here because it's such a big track. You can do different types of pitting schemes to try to undercut or try to get in on a different pit, gasoline window. So we'll see how that transpires. You never know about the weather because obviously the Chicago race, the one thing we didn't talk about is it was shortened. We should have had a lot more racing. So that also played a role in the outcome of that race. All right. So I went with my top guy as William Byron this week.
Ooh, I love that. I love that.
I don't love the 10-1, but I was between him and Chase Elliott. Chase Elliott actually has a better price at around 13 or 14. But I think William Byron's kind of like hanging around. He's been solid but not great. He's been solid but not great here at Pocono. But I like him. I think he led some laps here last year. I think he kind of just wasn't really all in to try to win. I think he's probably getting a little bored now. He wants to win again. So I'm going to go with William Byron, but I'm a close second for Chase Elliott. I think the Hendrick cars will be very strong. What do you think?
Yeah, I love that pick. You almost forget that William Byron has already won 3 times this year.
Yeah.
It happened so early. You just we haven't heard from him for a while. So it's like, oh, yeah, William Byron. It's like, no, he's won 3 times.
Did he win back-to-back, too, I think?
Yes.
Yeah.
I believe he did.
Okay. I think he's the only guy that did that this year, too. Yeah, so
I think that Byron pick is great, Matt. I love that.
I think the Hendricks will be strong. Would consider taking a Chevy, but I think these Toyotas will be right there too. And then the one other Toyota that I want to talk to you about ran well again, and we keep saying it. He's beating around the bush, and he's raced well here. He was 5th last year, and in his very first race, not even as a full ride, he actually was filling in, I think, for Kurt Busch maybe that one time. Ty Gibbs, I think this dude's live at around 15, 16 to 1. I don't want to say a dark horse because this guy's going to be one of the top 5 drivers in the industry here in a year or so. But I like him a little. What do you think?
Yeah, I love that. Honestly, he's been very, very solid this year. He surprises me sometimes with how just consistent he is up front for how young he is, not getting flustered by all these vets. And I know he's grown up in this industry, so has way more experience than the majority. But
sure.
He just seems to have a good, he's fiery. He'll punch you in the face.
Right, yeah.
He'll
just ask Gregson.
Yeah. Right, but he definitely seems to have a good head on his shoulders right now, and being surrounded by that team, I could see Ty getting his first victory very soon.
Yeah, he's definitely knocking on the door, no question about it. Any other long shots? One guy, I wouldn't even call him a long shot because he's definitely a contender all the time, but he had a little under the radar, sneaky. I don't want to say good numbers because his comprehensive numbers weren't good. His shorter term numbers were a little bit better in the newer car, so I was considering his Ross Chastain at 25. I don't know. When's he going to kind of put it together? And even Suarez, his teammate. I mean, Suarez has been running solid, but just
solid.
I guess he doesn't really need to. I guess those guys are kind of feeling like Chastain, has he won this year? I don't think he has. So he needs to win. So he's kind of getting desperate. Suarez has. So he's Suarez won, right? Yeah, he won.
Yes, he did. Yeah, and I don't hate Suarez as a sleeper either because he finished
He's
third here, I
85 to
think,
1.
2 years ago.
Right, and these are those tracks I always say, and I know they don't shift the way that they used to, but they still have to. He's really good on the tracks where you got to do a lot of unique shifting. Daniel Suarez is. So I agree with you. He had the third to Chevy ran 1, 2, 3. Elliott, Reddick, and Suarez, 3 different teams. So. That was 2 years ago. So yeah, I think Suarez could be lively, and I don't hate Chastain here because he's gonna have to start to where his pit crew, his crew chief, they're gonna have to start to roll the dice at strange times to try to get track position to try to win one of these races. Don't you think?
Oh yeah, for sure. Because the competition is honestly, I don't think it's ever been higher than it is this year.
No, I agree with you.
So Chastain really needs to make a move, man. I mean, Trackhouse is. Up and coming team. They're doing a lot of good stuff, but this is where you make the move to try to get up to the Gibbs, the Hendricks. I mean, it'd be a shame if Suarez got in and Chastain didn't.
I know.
The second driver doesn't really get the love the first one does.
And just to back up your comment a minute ago about how deep this is, the driver colony is so deep, and I try to tell people that. People will say, "Oh, I quit watching NASCAR when Jeff Gordon retired and Dale Earnhardt Jr." Saying, no, you got to give it a chance again because they're doing a lot for the sport. They're getting some good tracks, and there's a lot of good drivers here. There are like tons of them. Like we didn't even mention, we mentioned Busch a little bit, but we didn't even talk about Truex, who's had success here. We didn't talk about Joey Logano, who's been a past champion. We didn't talk about Kyle Larson, who may be the best driver in the whole damn circuit. So that just shows you. We talked about 12 other guys and didn't even mention those 3 guys. So NASCAR is as good a spot as it's been in a long time. They still can continue to get better. But yeah, I'm excited about this race. For whatever reason, Pocono has always been a track I've liked to watch on TV.
Yeah, I don't hate it on TV too. They always do the great pan away. They show the mountains. They show the track. It's in the middle of fucking nowhere.
That it is.
Man.
All right. Any other deep sleepers? Anybody else maybe that you thought maybe was worth a roll of the dice?
Either McDowell, and I hate to say this, I'm going to take a risk. Rowdy Kyle Busch.
Okay, well,
just do it. What do
at
you
some
have to
point,
lose?
His back class has to show up, and he's got to be able to put together a finish. But I mean, he wasn't terrible last week, so maybe a little bit of progress being made there for his team. In team news, we got drivers switching teams here. Josh Berry with a new ride. We got Noah Gragson with a new ride as the Stewart-Haas team shuts it down finally here. But
hey, Haley Diggin without a ride.
Yeah, I know. I don't know what's gone on with that. I'd like to get more information about what happened there, but I thought it was weird. The whole weekend in Chicago, how that went down, and I kind of expected something to happen. But does she go back to trucks? Like, what's her next alternative? Somebody's got to be wanting that appearance fee. Like her being on site is just a huge draw for young girls and for females in general.
Yeah, and the thing that when my eyebrows raise when you see mutual agreement. When I see mutual agreement that to part ways, I don't believe that. Something's not right. Something's not right. Because you just signed there. Yeah,
and you were like the hot commodity, and I know things haven't worked out, so I don't know what went wrong there. But she probably needs some new management. She probably needs her family to stay away and get her out on her own a little bit, and that'd probably help her. But I can't imagine she's going to be away from the track for very long. Somebody's going to want that revenue from her. She's just a huge draw.
Right. There's nothing like making money when your car finishes in the 20th position.
Yes.
That's a win, man.
Your top finish was 24th, and I agree. I thought it was too quick of a move for her to the Xfinity. Like she was okay in the trucks, but she probably needed another year there. There's nothing wrong with going back down to it. It just happens.
Yeah, just stay around. I mean, they wanted a female Cup driver. And they're trying, but it's proof that this is really, really tough.
It is. Ask Danica Patrick. Yeah.
She tried, man. Go daddy, number 10.
Yeah, just couldn't get there. Anything else sports-wise that's on your radar for the weekend?
Man, I'm just ready for the Pirates to just either make a move or don't do a fucking thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Make a move. Do something, man.
Well,
that article pissed me off yesterday.
I think it made a lot of people mad, Sam. I think you're in the majority on that, and it just shows you what kind of owner you got there. It's definitely a problem.
You know what else is a problem? me, because that article pissed me off so much yesterday. 24 hours later, I'm sitting in front of this fucking camera with a Pirates Bucko Luau shirt on. So who's the real idiot? You know?
Yeah, well, that is a good
It's
point.
me.
That is a good point. All right, well, best of luck to your Buccos this weekend. Hopefully they can close strong as we head into the All-Star break. We'll be coming in here after the game next week, I guess, in the Home Run Derby, which proves to be exciting, I'm sure. Maybe Rowdy Tellez can be a late entry in that, and that'd be cool.
Or Sawinski wouldn't be bad.
Exactly. All right, Sam, stay good, buddy. We'll talk to you next week.
Yeah, later on.
All right. That's Sam the Man from Upper St. Clair checking in with his wonderful analysis as always. That's going to do it for us here. Bettor's Last Stand, show number 91, Pine Room Studios. Be sure to check us out on the radio, watchdognetwork.com. Be sure to get over to the Brownie House, yesbrownies.com, 20% off your order using promo code PINEROOM. That's Pine Room at checkout. Definitely going to want to tap into those brownies here on a hot day. You're going to want to eat those inside in the air conditioning, watching some tennis or watching the Pirates or whatever it is that you want to watch. Until next week, we will see you on the radio, and we'll talk plenty of NFL football previews on the way. Got lots of action coming up here in the Pine Room. So have a great weekend. Best of luck on your wagers. BLS_PRP for all the latest picks from Sam and myself. And we will see you next week here in the Pine Room Studios. Bettor's Last Stand will be back.